Beyond stardom this time, 5 hard-working celebrities who continue to earn their place on the red carpet. This Aussie X-Man first made his name internationally playing Curly in a London production of Oklahoma. Hugh Jackman belongs to that rare breed of performer who can truly lay claim to the label of all-round entertainer. Mixing it with the likes of Brad Pitt, George Clooney and Matt Damon as one of Hollywood's top leading men, he can also hoof and holler with the best of them down on Broadway. In fact, his singing and dancing talents have not only won him rave reviews, they've also made him an almost permanent fixture at American theatre's Night of Nights, the annual Tony Awards. He scored his first invitation to host the New York extravaganza in 2003.
It really is a celebration of theatre at its heart, but even more than that, the Tony celebrates New York. People get to see this great array of talent, and you get kind of the best of, in a way. And if you're kind of working out what you want to see when you go to New York, it's a great thing to watch.
Hugh was such a hit, he got invited back the next year.
I just had probably the most fun I've ever had on stage. And I secretly, when I came off, I said to my wife, I said, I really hope they ask me to do it again one day. And so I really didn't think it would be next year, but I'm absolutely thrilled.
No doubt he was even more thrilled to win the 2004 Tony for his own performance as the flamboyant singer-songwriter Peter Allen in The Boy from Oz. He was invited to make it 3 in a row by hosting the awards again in 2005. His vocal talents also brought in offers to work on big-budget animated features like Happy Feet and Flushed Away, playing a posh mouse from Kensington who suffers a rude intrusion from a sewer rat called Sid. But by 2006, he'd swapped his maracas for a magician's cape and was brushing up on his party tricks for his starring role alongside Christian Bale and Scarlett Johansson in the thriller The Prestige.
I am really bad at magic. I, in fact, used to be a clown at kids' parties. I was Coco the Clown, and I had no magic tricks. And I remember a 6-year-old standing up at a party saying, "Mummy, this clown is terrible. He doesn't know any tricks." And he was right.
For The Prestige, he put in the hard yards to improve his form, but never got the credit.
You know, the really annoying thing is, Christian and I actually did several of the tricks. Some of them not because it's big apparatus, but the ones we did, we actually did. And my friend said, "Oh, that was CGI, wasn't it?" Yeah, so you can't win, really. But it was fun learning them.
There was plenty more tricks and locking of lips with Scarlett Johansson in his next film, Woody Allen's Scoop.
She's a great kisser. And by the way, I disclosed that to my wife when I went home from work that night, so she's fine with that. And she's particularly fine because Woody only does one take, so...
But then he needs to keep wife Deborah Lee Furness sweet. Not only does she play mother to their 2 adopted sons, she is also one of his partners in production company Seed, which is producing the X-Men spin-off Wolverine. The aim of Seed, which is also headed by Hugh's former personal assistant, is to provide more opportunity for filmmakers in Australia, where Hugh still spends much of his time. He and Deborah frequently host charity events in Sydney for causes as diverse as Bette Midler's New York Restoration Fund and the Jane McGrath Cancer Foundation. He's also been flying the home flag in his most recent movie effort, Baz Luhrmann's $100 million extravaganza, Australia. Set in the 1930s, it tells the tale of an English aristocrat who sails to Australia and falls in love with an outback drover. Hugh and co-star Nicole Kidman were welcomed like royalty by the Darwin locals, who hope that Hugh's portrayal of a true-blue Aussie battler who's not afraid of hard yakka will bring a touch of romance to the outback's rough and ready image. The Archbishop of Genoa is quoted as having said that although the Vatican opposed human cloning, it might make an exception in the case of this Italian icon. Director Cecil B. DeMille was so impressed with her voluptuous figure, he proposed building mountains around her. Sophia Loren herself has put her legendary 38-24-38 frame all down to spaghetti. But despite all the fuss over her curves, the Italian beauty has always been so much more than her vital statistics. In 1961, she was the first person to win an Academy Award for a non-English speaking performance for her part in Vittoria De Sica's Two Women. With a list of credits like Houseboat, Desire Under the Elms, The Millionairess and Lady L, she has proved herself as adept at comic roles as at dramatic ones. She was the first star to be inducted into the Italian-American Hall of Fame. 3,000 people packed the Washington Hilton to cheer her on.
I'm really very honored to receive this special recognition from you and from the National Italian-American Foundation. May we continue to cherish all that God has given us. Thank you so much for this wonderful ovation. Thank you really from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much.
Fellow inductee Robert De Niro was only too happy to take second place to such an enduring Italian icon.
I love Sophia Loren. It's an honor to be inducted into the Italian-American Hall of Fame and to share this stage with such a distinguished and accomplished group.
Not bad for a so-called ugly duckling who grew up in extreme poverty in wartime Naples. Perhaps her tough start in life has inspired Sophia to keep living life to the full. Now well into her 70s, she's still a red-hot regular at red carpet launches and fashion shows, especially if the invite comes from Giorgio Armani.
Oh, I love him and what he does in his work.
And the haute couture, to wear, what's the most important thing for you when you're choosing a gown?
How I look, how I feel in it, and if it's done by Armani, it's Armani, and I don't have any questions.
Okay. Thank you very much.
The epitome of Italian glamour in the 60s, Sophia was one of the most popular actresses in the world, continuing to work in both the US and Europe. In 1964, she was paid $1 million to appear in The Fall of the Roman Empire. In 2007, at the age of 72, she mourned the death of her husband of 50 years, legendary Italian director Carlo Ponti. Carlo had discovered Sophia when she was just 17 and cast her in several films before marrying her 7 years later. After 2 devastating miscarriages, they finally had 2 sons together, one of whom, Eduardo, followed his father into directing. Fittingly, Eduardo got to direct his mother in her 100th film, Between Strangers.
Working with my son was wonderful, was really so gratifying for me that I wish I could do another film with him because, first of all, he's a very intelligent guy and he writes wonderful things and he's a wonderful director. And besides, he's my son, so I'm always with him.
Although these days she's known for choosing her roles very carefully, she's certainly not slowing down.
I just finished a movie for television, 4 hours for television, Italian, Canadian, and now I'm going to do a film for theaters with Lina Wertmüller as a director. We're going to start in the month of October.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Having worked all over the world for the past half a century, La Lorraine thinks nothing of jetting over to Israel to wish old friends like celebrated conductor Zubin Mehta happy birthday. Or of jetting over to Hamburg for the annual Bambi Awards. But in April 2006, she had a date with Rome to open an exhibition about her life that began in the slums of Naples. Drawn from her own personal archives of family photos, dresses, jewels, awards and career memorabilia, an entire section of the show was dedicated to photos of Sophia taken by Richard Avedon, who was considered the first ever paparazzo. The exhibition, which she curated herself, included images from all ages of her life, from cartoon strips, paintings and magazine covers, to costumes, hats and intimate letters from friends like her Houseboat co-star Cary Grant. Beck's one-man brand was Googled more than any other sports person for 2 years in a row. Even if you've never watched a game of soccer in your life, you'll have no trouble recognising ex-England captain David Beckham. Born outside London in 1975, he played with Manchester United for 11 years, during which they won the Premiership title 6 times. He moved to Real Madrid in 2003, and in January 2007 he landed a 5-year, $250 million contract to captain the Major League Soccer's Los Angeles Galaxy. But no matter how handy he may be with a ball, his on-field exploits have always been eclipsed by his pin-up boy looks and daring haircuts. Then there's his front-page status as half of celebrity juggernaut Posh and Becks. The pair met when the Spice Girls singer attended a Manchester United game in 1997. As they amalgamated their multi-million-dollar fortunes in a £500,000 ceremony in a castle in 1999, Posh and Becks confirmed their commitment to flashy extravagance and set up home in a £15 million pile, dubbed Beckingham Palace. In between attempts to stage a comeback as a solo artist and giving birth to their 3 boys, Brooklyn, Romeo and Cruz, Victoria has been credited with engineering brand Beckham, establishing David's astonishing portfolio of sponsorship contracts. Beck's endorsements range from health and fitness specialists to hairstylists, exercise promoters and spa and recreation companies. However, it hasn't all been a one-way street. Cementing his image as a doting father and loyal caretaker of his fans, David has ploughed time and money into giving back. In 2005, he established 2 soccer academies, one in London and one in LA, to give budding footballers a leg up. And the Beckham Academy isn't all about finding the next Beckham.
You know, I've always said that that would be nice. It would be great to find future stars, but at the end of the day, that's not what the Academy is about. It's about achieving something for kids to come down and have fun and have the ability to learn about the sport, about football, learn about healthy eating, learn about, you know, different parts of the body, different injuries and things like that. And it's also, you know, a lot about, you know, learning about life as well and responsibilities. And, you know, it's not just a soccer academy, it's about different things, and that's what we're trying to learn.
However, his heroic track record hasn't been entirely without blemish. He's been sent off a few times in crucial matches and was lucky not to be given the red card by Posh after being caught out having an affair with Rebecca Luz in Madrid. Holed up in a ski chalet in France, the Beckhams patched up their problems and were soon holding hands again on the red carpet. But not before David had given the media a good serve, and he wasn't afraid to name names.
There's something I just want to say. I know as England captain that, you know, I'm obligated and I need to talk to the fans, and that's why I'm here. But I think I'm not talking about Sky Sports, because there's a difference between Sky Sports and the news side. And I think the way the news side have treated me in the last few months has been an absolute disgrace. I've done the same with the News of the World, because I think they've tried to you know, ruin my family. I think that I've done the same with the Mail, because I've been called a bad father, I've been called a bad husband, and my wife's been called a bad mother. Of course, yeah, as I said, you know, things always hurt that are said about my family, and for people to call my wife a bad mother, you know, is unbelievable, and you know, that's all I want to say on the matter.
These days, Posh and Becks live a stone's throw away from their stateside counterparts and new bosom buddies, Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes in LA. That strategic alliance has greased the wheels and eased their passage to the top of the Hollywood invite list, keeping Victoria busy while David is off at training. In a recent interview, this blonde bombshell confessed that her beauty has been more of a curse than a blessing. Michelle Pfeiffer believes her looks have stunted her chances of snagging more serious roles, as well as eclipsing her acting abilities. That's as maybe, but if she hadn't won the Miss Orange County beauty pageant in 1978, she may not have caught the eye of the acting agent who gave her a start in TV commercials. 5 years later, after underwhelming critics in Grease 2, she got their attention as the irresistible Elvira in Scarface. At the 20th anniversary of the film's release, Michelle acknowledged its impact on her fledgling career.
I think it sort of legitimized me in a way to be associated, you know, to be co-starring with Al Pacino and such a seasoned, talented cast.
It's a gift that's kept on giving.
Everywhere I go, people, particularly young men, stop me and say, you know, how Scarface was their favorite film and now they've seen it 175 times.
It's certainly not that Michelle hasn't delivered plenty of memorable performances since. She's been nominated for an Oscar 3 times and won a Golden Globe for Best Actress for 1989's The Fabulous Baker Boys. Some of her most famous films include Witches of Eastwick, Dangerous Liaisons, Married to the Mob, Wolf, and the spooky thriller What Lies Beneath. She also boosted sales of PVC with her turn as feline anti-hero Catwoman in Batman Returns, and produced the film One Fine Day. George Clooney, her co-star in that movie, was certainly impressed with her.
Who is the most sexy woman in your eyes in the world?
I don't know. I just finished doing a movie with Michelle Pfeiffer, and she's pretty beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
In real life, she's married to genius writer-producer David E. Kelley, creator of Ally McBeal, The Practice, and Boston Legal. The couple have 2 young children, and in 2002, Michelle announced she was taking a few years off to enjoy her home life, which is split between LA and Northern California. Still in 2003, she couldn't turn down the opportunity to lend her voice to the character Eris in the animated DreamWorks feature Sinbad.
They had overheard me on the phone, I think, with him, and say something about a DreamWorks, and they said, what DreamWorks? Well, there's this animated movie. Are you going to do it? And they would not leave me alone.
By 2006, she'd decided that she would be a better mother to her children if she also worked. She also claimed that they'd had enough of her hovering over them all the time, making everyone feel inadequate. She didn't waste any time getting back into it. Gladly accepting the challenge of shooting 3 movies back-to-back, she took on extra singing and dancing duties in the musical version of Hairspray.
After I sort of got warmed up, it was a lot of fun. In the beginning, it was a little intimidating, but it was great. Yeah, I did. I was pretty rusty. And a little surprised at how rusty I was. And so I crammed. Yeah, just came in under the wire, I think.
Finally shaking off the timid image she acquired earlier in her career, she was only too happy to play another baddie in Stardust with Robert De Niro. Although she couldn't quite explain what the fantasy film was all about.
You know, it also is funny, and it's romantic, and it's dark, and it's kind of whimsical, and it's kind of a hard one to sum up in a soundbite.
She does get to show off her softer side in the romantic comedy I Could Never Be Your Woman. Her next project, written by her husband David, explores the relationship between a father and daughter who take off on a voyage of self-discovery. It's a subject close to Michelle's heart, who paid tribute to her own father on unveiling her star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2007.
To thank my father, who basically taught me the importance of it, that it didn't matter what you chose to do. It was that you did whatever it was to the best of your ability, and that if you worked hard, you could make something of yourself.
Putting paid to rumors that her ageless skin has had some cosmetic help, Michelle maintains that so far she has not succumbed to the temptation of surgical enhancement, and hopes that she will have the willpower to age gracefully. And with close friends like Giorgio Armani, that's hardly likely to be a problem. This Joker once lived next door to Golden Age legend Marlon Brando on Mulholland Drive. Although Jack Nicholson is the most awarded screen actor alive, he is probably more famous as a womanizing party lover. Never without a wicked grin and trademark shades, his lovable rogue image is said to have seduced more than 2,000 women, a statistic that has earned him a place in Maxim's top 10 living legends of sex. He has 5 children by 4 different women and has only been married once. His 17-year relationship with Angelica Houston ended acrimoniously in 1990 when it emerged that he had fathered a child with starlet Rebecca Broussard. He then began an off-and-on relationship with the ever-shrinking Laura Flynn Boyle. At the age of 67, upon the UK release of the aptly named Something's Gotta Give, Jack confessed that he was finally slowing down. On a trip to London, he apologised to the press for not being much of a raver anymore, saying at his age such behaviour was unattractive and inappropriate. Even his on-screen image was mellowing out a little. But that doesn't mean that he's resigned himself to the notion of getting old. Jack the lad found playing the ageing salesman in About Schmidt quite a shock to the system.
I couldn't look at myself in the mirror the whole 3 months I was doing this picture because I thought I would never return to myself. You know, the physiognomy of a character, really one of the smart things I was going to say. What's the difference between you and this guy? I was going to say diet, you know, because he's a very sedentary American. So, you know, if you just get rid of your camera tricks, what angles they shoot you from, all of that, it in the end creates an overall impression of aging in different ways. And this is the least vain performance I think I've ever given, you know.
For an actor famous for playing extreme and exceptional characters in his movies, pulling off the mediocre Warren Schmidt was exactly the sort of challenge Jack was up for.
Well, that's always the hard job for an actor. You know, anybody can act once or twice. They don't know who you are. But when you have to unconvince them of who you are, like in About Schmidt, as Alex has said, I've listened to his interviews also. He asked me to play a small man. So, you know, every job is different. Every character is different. That's what makes it interesting. You know, otherwise you wouldn't keep doing it. You'd be doing the same thing over and over again. No one really knows the real Jack anyway.
One thing that no one knows about the real Jack, including Jack himself, is who his father is. Growing up believing his grandmother was his mum, he called his mother Sis and didn't find out the truth until both of them were dead. By that time, it was too late to find out who his real father was, and although 2 men have stepped forward, Jack never pursued the matter. Despite his philandering ways, he has never shied away from acknowledging and supporting his own children, one of whom is LA designer Jennifer Nicholson, who counts many glamorous celebrities amongst her clientele. He even managed to tear himself away from screaming himself hoarse at an LA Lakers game in time to play the proud father at her recent show.
Proud as I could be.
Jack and Jennifer, how about the photo?
Yeah.
I'd like to do a shot of Jack.
Of course I enjoyed this show. It was nice.
Can you back up?
But anyone thinking that Jack may be going soft in his old age should take note of Leonardo DiCaprio's experience of working with him. The pair worked together on Martin Scorsese's 2006 film, The Departed.
We were dealing with an actor that's completely unpredictable in Jack Nicholson. I mean, you almost expect it. You almost expect that he's going to come to set and completely surprise you, and that's what he does. And when he signed on to the project, we all knew that he would have to make this character his own, and that meant making him that much more treacherous, sexually explicit, deceptive, and dangerous.
Thankfully, there's a badass in the old boy yet.